Hi, and welcome to Describing the ITCZ with Mr. Mercer. Now, in this clip, I'll be telling you how to describe the ITCZ. In the second clip, I'll show you how to explain it. Now, when you describe the ITCZ, it'll be a question which provides you with a load of sources. The sources may look something like this, for example. In other words, you might see a map of West Africa, and this map has 3 place names on it: Lagos, Jos and Timbuktu in this instance. However, the place names may vary. And what you'll be asked to do is to describe how rainfall varies from the southernmost location to the northernmost location. You'll notice in this example they've provided you with things called isohyets. These are lines on a map which tell you how much rain falls there in an average year. Make sure when you quote data from this map that you use the correct units of measurement, otherwise you'll lose the mark. Quoting data from the map is essential, and that goes for graphs and diagrams too. You have to use them. They're not there to be ignored. You might also see images such as this, where you're shown the entire of Africa. Nonetheless, you're going to be asked to focus on Northwest Africa, and it would be useful to know a few of the place names there. It would also be useful for you to know the names of the principal air masses involved in forming the ITCZ in this location, that being the tropical maritime, sometimes referred to as maritime tropical air mass, that passes over the Gulf of Guinea, and the tropical continental, sometimes known as continental tropical air mass, which passes over the northern African areas, the Sahara Desert. You could also reference this as the Harmattan winds, which is its common name. You might also be shown graphs such as these. Now, the graphs are where you can score the majority of your descriptive marks within the question. Notice the 3 location names are the same as in the map I showed you earlier. When describing the graphs, go for the easy points. For example, in Lagos, there are 2 peaks of rainfall. No credit will be given for that on its own, unless you mention when those peaks are, June and October, and how much rain falls at those 2 times. It's useful to have a ruler with you in the exam so you can lay it down on the graph and make your estimate of the amount of rainfall more accurate. Don't worry too much about being pinpoint accurate. The examiner will have to understand that you have to make a judgment here between 400 and 500 millimeters, but nonetheless, it's fair to say that in June, about 460 millimeters of rainfall fell in Lagos. In Jos, there is 1 peak. Tell the examiner when and how much, and there is a dramatic fall in rainfall in the months of October, November, December, January, February, March. You could say when rainfall never peaks above approximately 40 millimeters. The word approximately is quite useful in this context. Timbuktu has its own special instance where you have the peak of rainfall, but also you have periods of drought. And that's when no rainfall falls at all. In the months of January, February, March and April, there is a tiny amount in March, November and December. There are periods of drought, and that will become very relevant later on in your explanation. In terms of marks here, you'll scored significant marks for making the observations of peaks of rainfall, a double peak of rainfall, and periods of drought or significant drop-off in precipitation, backing that up with data from the graphs or maps. For making these basic observations, you can earn, in a 10-mark answer, maybe 4 or 5 marks, depending how the mark scheme breaks down the answer. So make sure that you quote data, make sure that you work the graph, work the map, and make sure that you know your basic geographical terms for the area. Okay, if you've got any questions, come and find me, but that should stand you in good stead for the descriptive half of the answer. The description should be answered in 1 paragraph, and then do a separate paragraph on your explanation. Maybe leave a line between the 2 So it's very clear to the examiner when you're done with describing and when you're starting your explaining section. Right. Hope that helped.